All right, so good evening. So I'm coming to you guys tonight on a very special night. It is the last day of June. Half the year 2020 is over. We have one more half to go. And I just finished watching a deep interview with Angela Yee and August Alsina. And I just kind of want to talk about some of the things he touched on. So the very first thing I want to talk about is his relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith. As we all know, as we watch Red Table Talk, she always says that her and Will are life partners and they are not romantically involved. Even though we wish they would be, and even though we see them as that couple that a couple goals, you know, they just chose to raise their children together without divorcing, but they are not in a romantic relationship. And so August Alsina in his interview is stating that he had a very in-depth love with Jada Pinkett Smith. And it's kind of hard for me because I do look at Will and Jada as couple goals. You know, Will is this great actor who is beautiful looking and funny and a great dad. And then you have Jada, who is this beautiful lady with, you know, so much wisdom and a Virgo and all that good stuff. And so you think that they're a couple and their family and their everything is couple goals, but in reality, they're not even together. And I remember touching on this before, because before people thought they were swingers and they were saying they were swingers. And so when Will and Jada spoke on the Red Table Talk, they explained that they'd never been swingers. So I'm thinking in my mind, well, it was a lie and they've always been in a relationship. But the relationship that they do have is non-romantic, according to August Alsina, and that's kind of strange and kind of like, wow, you know, but he was in love with Jada. And, you know, he lived with her, I believe. And, you know, separating, it was really hard and devastating for him. So Jada had him on a Red Table Talk show, and I remember watching that. And I was like, she addressed him as friend a lot. She was very worried about his health. And so it's interesting to like coincide the stories. He wasn't real in debt, but it's like, wow, you know. And then he talks about this documentary, which I'm going to watch as soon as I finish doing this video. But he did a 5-part documentary about his life growing up in New Orleans, and his health and how he has a liver disease and it's hurting his immune system, and how his sister died and he's helped raising her daughters, her 3 daughters. And so he's been through a lot. He's also been molested as a child. So I definitely want to see by who and why. You know, this happens so much in the Black community and nobody talks about it. And he said that in the interview, like, everything in the Black community is supposed to be hushed, and everything in the Black community we're not supposed to talk about. We're supposed to be strong. But what about when we are weak? He's so right. What happens when you are weak? What happens when you cannot cope? What happens when it impacts you as an adult? What happens? You know what I'm saying? And then I love what they touched on as far as drugs, because growing up in the projects, I grew up mad at my mother and my family for doing drugs, and I felt like they chose drugs over me, when in reality it's a disease. It's a disease, and the white man put those drugs in our neighborhoods, in our world, you know, and they made us to be criminals when we do it. But when they do it, you know, and they hooked on opioids and all that, it's a disease. But when we do it as colored people, we're seen as criminals. You know, you're going to jail for using it, you're going to jail for being on it, you're sick, you know, and not even sick as a patient, you're sick with a problem, you know, and it's just not fair. And I never looked at it like that as a child. I always was like, man, they choosing drugs over me. How could they? How could they? Why would they do that? You know, just, I had so much anger in my heart. Even when my mom, I don't know if I ever talked about it, but when my mom was in her deathbed, right before she died, I used to tell her how mad I was. How mad I was at her. You know, are you gonna make it to my graduation? You better be at my graduation. I would talk to her like that. Like, you better make it. You promised me you was gonna be there. And you know, and why are you choosing drugs over me? And I used to be mad at her. Not looking at it like she had a disease, she had a problem. I would look at it like with anger, like, how could you, you know? But now that I'm older and I have so much more wisdom about it and so much more information and knowledge about it, it's a disease that they get hooked on, that it's not so easily, you know, it's not easy to stop. You know, it's not easy to quit. And when you do rehab, they put you onto another drug. So it's like you're always on drugs. You're always on drugs, you know, because I remember my mom was in the methadone program. So it's like society and just the government or whoever that put crack cocaine into our communities, especially in New York, you know, in those times are the blame and not your parents, you know. So yes, they made a choice to do it. Yes, they made a choice to try it, but it's like in your community, what other choice, you know, what other choices you really have? Coming off a reefer, you know, they call marijuana reefer, and used papers, and then it went and moved on to cigars, and then rollies now, and everything else that y'all call it, perp, and I don't know what else y'all call it, you know. But it's like, man. So the point of this conversation is that growing up in the hood makes you appreciate getting out. Okay, so when I say I'm from the Bronx, New York, I'm very proud of where I come from, a city of dreams, a city that is hard to make it, and I made it, you know what I'm saying? But it's not a place that I'm like full of joy that I come from there, because it comes with pain and hurt and sorrow. Just like August Alsina, he grew up in New Orleans, it came with pain and hurt and sorrow. I could have died in my hood. He could have died in his hood. We seen deaths like in our face in our hood. You know what I'm saying? And it's so real. And we just hold it in and we don't really talk about it. And when we do talk about it, it's like normal because we're colored people. So it's supposed to be normal for us. That stuff is not normal. Like, let's start there. It's not normal to see somebody die in front of you. It's not normal to have drug trafficking in your neighborhood on a daily basis. That's what you see. That's what you're afraid of when you go into school, walking to school. You know, these things are not normal. These things are what poverty and just urban communities have to go through. You know, and then it's true, like with all this Black Lives Matter, now we're sticking together and coming together as a race and cultures from Spanish to Black, because we all Black. But at the same time, we are so against each other, because if it's between me and you to get that promotion, you ready to cut my head off. You know, if that guy is the one you want, but he want me because I got the longer hair, you ready to beat my ass. You know what I'm saying? And we always going against each other when we should be lifting each other up. And I don't know if in 2020 that's what we choosing to do, but we need to do it in order for the white man to leave us alone and get his knee off our neck. You know, that knee's been on our neck as a culture, as a society for over 400 years. What makes you think that one new protest is gonna change things? But you know what gives me hope? That this protest in 2020 went to 17 countries. It's not just in the US with 50 states. It went to 17 countries. So that means that there will be some kind of changes happening, you know, but it's like, we still seeing people dying. I don't know about y'all, but when I turn on my phone or when I watch the news, I continue to see new people dying. Rashad came after George Floyd. So it's like, I don't know if it's gonna ever end. And I don't know if our pain will ever, I don't know, man. But I know one thing. August Alsina didn't give up on himself, and he chose life. He chose life. He chose how to learn how to talk again, learn how to walk again, learn how to love himself, learn how to let that shit go. With me, when I moved to Georgia, I came to Georgia with no family. I had like 1 or 2 friends, and I said, if I stay in New York, I'm gonna either be dead or in jail. And so coming to Georgia for me was a life-changing experience. It was for me to start a new life. And no, I'm not in Buckhead, where it's like equivalent to our Manhattan Broadway, you know. I'm not there. I'm not in the Bronx, I wouldn't say, but maybe I am, I don't know. Maybe I went from one Bronx to the other, but I know where I'm at. I have not seen drugs on a daily the way I would. I have not seen people dying in front of me. I have heard shotguns, I'm not gonna lie. I've had, when I was living in a townhouse, somebody shot through my even door. So the violence still continued no matter where I went, but it was a lot less. Let's just say that. It is a lot less. And I'm not raising my kids to go in a pissy elevator and be afraid to walk home. You know, you can't even walk out here. You know, so it's a really big difference. And I'm blessed and happy about my decision. My son was 5 years old when I came to Georgia. We are officially 15 years in Georgia. And so I'm just making this video to let you know that knowing where you come from and loving and appreciating all that you learn as you grow, because the next generation after you should be better off than you were. Because the government started us out here. And as each generation progresses, we getting higher and higher and higher. That's how Barack Obama was able to become the president. So I'm just saying that never give up. I don't care what state, what hood you from. I don't care what project. And never give up. Always know that it's better out there. Strive for better. Want better, want more. That's normal. That's supposed to be happening, you know. And always give your kids way more than you had, always. But the foundation is not the money. You know, the foundation is love, loving up on each other. Even when you're mad, even when you're trying to be a disciplinary, even when things ain't going right, the foundation is love. That's real. So when you got that foundation, then you're able to show your family that money come, money go. Enjoy your money when you get it. Don't wait till you old to enjoy it, which is what I talk about in my book, Living Life Not Just Alive. You know, but money's not everything. Some of the richest people in this world are unhappy. One of the unhappiest people in the world. You know, it's like the richest people are some of the most selfish. And then we poor and we giving from our poorness. Or we middle class or whatever you want to call it. And we give from our hearts. You know what I'm saying? You rich with all this money and you don't know if you should give me some money. You know what I'm saying? It's just ironic how the world works. But I know one thing. I'm not ashamed of where I come from. I never will be. And I will always tell people I'm from the Bronx, New York. But my family, they used to be like, when you leave, oh, you're going to come back. You're going to come back. Or when you leave, it's nothing out there. Apply for housing, girl. The government pays for your rent. Get some welfare. What? I thank God. I've never received welfare in my life. Now, food stamps, I have received some help with food. But welfare? You pay my rent shit? No. Nope. Does that make me better? No. It just makes me my grandmother, she worked years in a factory making the bags that teachers carry their laptops in. You know, the nice leather bags where you carry your laptop, you know, the work where you carry your folders and your papers. You know, the lawyers that carry those bags. My grandmother made those bags by hand for years. I'm talking about work in the factory for years and never took us to Puerto Rico. I never went to Puerto Rico with my family. She's never traveled because she never made enough. She only made enough to check. You know, so that's what I'm saying when I say living life, not just alive. You have to live. And live doesn't mean I have to go to freaking Australia when I'm on a budget. But it means to live. It means if you have some money, travel. See the world. The world is a beautiful place. It's meant to be seen. It's meant to know there's more than what you see on a daily. And working hard is not meant for you to just be old and pay for medicine. It's meant for you to enjoy your money while you can. And that's just all I want to say in this video. I am Beatriz from the Bronx, New York. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've come a long way. And I know my history. I've researched where I'm from, who I come from. And, you know, I've taken my children around the world. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. And I'm not rich. One day I plan to be rich, but rich in my ways, in all my ways, you know. And August, I don't know if you ever see this video, but you made it, you still making it, and you're gonna make it. Because God is the head of our life. So let's toast to living your life, not just being alive. Let's toast to abundant life. Let's toast to knowing God is with us in everything that we do. Let's toast to love, life, and prosperity for your children and your children's children. Amen. I love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. that notification from the back.